Do you love medical movies? Well, I do. I absolutely love medical films, medical movies, documentaries, etc. And today I'm going to tell you my top 5 medical movies. All right, coming in at number 5 is Nova's Doctor's Diaries. Nova's Doctor's Diaries. I absolutely love this, and it's an enjoyable film. It's a documentary. It's an enjoyable film, but more so, it's very informational as well. Very informational as well. So, Doctor's Diaries is about a group of medical students. So, it starts off as a group of medical students, and it takes you through their journey in medicine. So it takes you, the Harvard medical students, it takes you through your journey, their time, your struggles, your triumphs, your joys while they're Harvard medical students. And I mean, it shows you them on the wards. It shows you them interacting with each other so you can see your inside relationships. It shows you them just sitting down on camera talking about, why it's so hard and their struggles and being brought to tears and things of that sort. It's a real deep dive, maybe the best deep dive I've seen into a medical student's life, right? But here's the cool thing about it. It shows you that. And then years later brings you back and shows you them after they've got that degree. I think it's like 10 or 20 years later. It's a while later. And it brings you back and it shows you what they're actually doing now. So what you find is you got some of these individuals who are, students and working your butt off at Harvard, right? Trying to be the best doctors they could be in the world. They go through that, they finish that process, and they come out and they end up not even practicing medicine. But this is a reality of life. Right. Not every doctor is going to just practice medicine. There's so many things you can do with a medical degree. And it kind of shows you some of the options as to what's going on there. And I'm really hoping Nova, if anybody from Nova sees this, I'm waiting for y'all to make that third part. They did part 1 of medical school, part 2 when they were, after they made it as doctors at some level. And then part 3, I'm waiting to see part 3 because I really want to know what these doctors are up to now. But I watched this film probably first when I was either a pre-med or early in med school. And I loved it because it just gave me an idea as to what was to come. It gave me a real idea as to, wow, this is what it's really like. I know it's going to be some struggles, but I know it's going to be some good times along with it. And I highly, highly, highly recommend this series or documentary to pre-medical students, right? So when I had a pre-med mentee, they'll say, Dr. Dale, what should I be? I say, hey, look, go watch this series. Of course, I tell them other stuff, but I say, go watch Doctor's Diaries by Noah. It gives you a very good inside look as to what it's going to be like to go through medical school. But here's the deal. I don't just recommend it to pre-medical students. I recommend it to medical students. I recommend it to residents. I recommend it to parents. I recommend it to the community at large, just because it's such a good inside look as to what we go through medical school. And I think it's something that if people watch, they'll better appreciate what it means to become a medical doctor. So that's number 5, Nova's Doctor's Diaries. Coming in at number 4 is Patch Adams. So Patch Adams is a film starring Robin Williams. He's since died, but a film starring Robin Williams. It's an amazing, very it pulls at your heart type of film. Very, very amazing movie. The reason it came in so low on my list is because there's one part, little spoiler alert right here, but there's one part where he's addressing God and talking to God and says some things in a way that just doesn't resonate with me, that I would never support, that I would never endorse. So that's why it has to come in. I almost left it off the list just because of that one part, right? But at the same time, I understand that people will go through things in life. There are difficulties that might make them question and doubt sometimes the book of Job. That's what, heavily the book of Job is showing us, the same type of thing, right? So Patch Adams caught a little clip of that. I just didn't like that they just didn't add more to it, to bring more out of it. But nonetheless, other than that, outside of that, I still think it's a phenomenal movie. And let me give you a brief kind of synopsis idea as to what it's about without spoiling it too much. So you've got this guy. He's dealing with some mental health issues. And he's dealing with these issues, and he gets the chance to see how patients are treated, how the doctors operate, and he does not like it. He says, you guys suck. You guys are doing a horrible job of being doctors. You guys are doing a horrible job of taking care of patients. I can do a better job, so I'm going to go to medical school. He's older. He's not just coming out of college. He's older. He says, I'm going to go to medical school. So the film is about this older guy going to medical school, trying to do it better than the doctors he's seen before. He says, you know what? You guys are so serious about the charts and the medicines and the numbers. Here's a better way to do it. Let's bring laughter and happiness and joy into the patient's lives. If we can bring laughter, happiness, and joy, there is medicine in that in and of itself, and that can heal, that can make people feel better. And that's the way I want to approach medicine. I want to approach medicine by actually taking care of the person, the patient, not just the numbers, not just the other stuff that we have to do, right? So phenomenal movie that probably almost any doctor can actually resonate with. And it's also, as a medical doctor, it's something that just makes me take a step back and say, let me make sure I can get back to this place where Patch Adams was. Let me get back to this place where he was in terms of just trying to bring joy to the patient's life, right? Joy to the patient's life, right? So Patch Adams comes in at number 4. Number 3, Black Men and White Coats documentary. Of course, I got to put the Black Men in White Coats documentary. I should have put it at number one, but no, the Black Men in White Coats documentary. If you have not seen it, go check it out right now. At the time of this recording, you can watch it for free at members.bmwcevents.com. Members.bmwcevents.com. Phenomenal, one of a kind, landmark, nothing like it done before, right? And something that actually many people have credited to having a big impact across the country in terms of numbers, people pursuing the field of medicine, things of that sort. So Black Men in White Coats documentary, if you're watching this channel, you might already know about it. But basically what Black Men in White Coats documentary is, it's a documentary that takes a deep dive into the reason why there's not very many Black men applying to the field of medicine. It takes a deep dive. It's got experts across the field of medicine, some of the top people, right? It's got Hill Harper, who just a brilliant mind, lawyer. Of course, he went to law school with Barack Obama, did some stuff with Barack Obama back in the day, and the reason I bring him up is because he actually acts as a Black doctor. He's an actor, so he acts as a Black doctor on the hit TV show The Good Doctor, and he brings unique perspectives as well. Surgeon generals in it, NBA player, all sorts of great people are in it. But we really take a deep dive into why Black men aren't going into the field of medicine, give you some answers, some great debate in there, great stories. Will bring you to tears, right? People leave that documentary just in there, just bawling, tissue in your hand. It'll bring you to tears, okay? But you've got to watch it. Black Men in White Coats documentary comes in at number 3. You can watch it right now for free at members.bmwcevents.com. Come in at number 2. So number 2 and number 1. Woo! I had a hard time deciding between number 2 and number 1. I'm not going to lie. I had a very hard time picking between number 2 and number 1. Honestly, it's probably really a tie, but I had to put one above the other. Right? So just number 2, what I decided to put was Something the Lord Made. Something the Lord Made. I absolutely love this movie. I can't say enough. I absolutely love this movie. Something the Lord Made. It starred Mos Def, right? Mos Def, the hip hop artist. He's a main character in this film. And it's a film about a young individual, a Black man back in the day, who really wants to be a medical doctor, really wanted to go into the field of medicine. Life happens, some things are going on financially, things of that sort, right? I'm not going to spoil the film and tell you how successful he is or not, but it just his dream gets derailed. Okay, his dream gets derailed from being able to go to medical school. So he starts working as a lab tech in this guy's lab, and then this guy gets challenged to take care of blue babies. Right, blue babies, something you have to look up. Blue babies is a condition where you have babies get cyanotic because kind of the way that your arteries and vessels are routed in your heart and your lungs, etc. So you're not getting proper oxygenation, and babies get cyanotic. But it's a huge issue, tetralogy of flow, huge issue, right? Back in the day. So this guy gets challenged with it. And it's true stories, based on the true stories. His name's Dr. Alfred Blaylock and Dr. Vivian Thomas. So Vivian Thomas is Mos Def. He's a Black individual, and Alfred Blaylock is the surgeon, the white surgeon. And then, man, it's just a roller coaster of a film that takes you through the emotions of being a Black individual who is so heavily contributing to the success of something and not getting the credit for it. Right? He's so heavily, he contributed so much. He put his heart in it, and he struggles with being viewed as a second-class citizen, but nonetheless wants to do great things and pushes and pushes and pushes. I'll tell you, this movie gets me every time. I just watched it again recently, as a matter of fact. This movie gets me every time. I absolutely love it. Go watch Something the Lord Made. Watch the film. You will be inspired. You will understand what it means to be passionate about what you want to do in life. You'll understand what it means to not give up, regardless of what anybody else thinks about you, to push, to give it your all, because you believe in the cause and you believe in yourself. Something the Lord Made. Go watch it. Man, coming in at number 1, like I said, it was really a tie, but I had to pick one to be number 1 to pick be number 2. So Something the Lord Made, I just put it number 2. But number 1, Dr. Dale's favorite medical movie is John Q. John Q. Man, I tell you, this movie, if you're going to talk about a movie that makes you feel a certain way as a doctor, for me as a Black man, for me as a dad, it's John Q. This movie just completely resonates with me and gets me every single time, because I can just feel his pain throughout the entire film. So John Q stars Denzel Washington. In the film, Denzel Washington, he's a dad. He's got a wonderful son, and his wonderful son has heart issues. And long story short, his boy needs a heart. So the question is, how can he get a heart without money to pay for it? right? It's a movie about insurance. It's a movie that gets you upset when you're sitting there watching it, thinking like, man, is this the best that we can do? This is the best that we can do, right? But his boy needs a heart. He can't afford it. And John Q's got to take matters into his own hands. I don't recommend doing what he does. Definitely do not ever do what he did. But he essentially takes the hospital under siege. He's got a gun in there, and he's pretty much saying, hey, you guys are going to give my son a heart or things are going to go haywire in here. You're going to give my son a new heart or things are going to get bad in here. But you see that he's a good-hearted guy. You see that he's a good-hearted guy. He's not trying to cause any harm, anything of that sort. He's just desperate to make sure his son lives, right? And just gives that perspective. What will a father do for his son? Again, don't do that. Do not do that, right? But it gives you that illustration of that. And he's in there. People need help at the hospital, so he's trying to make sure everybody gets taken care of when they're in the hospital. But at the end of the day, it comes down to a moment where his son's either going to get a heart or not going to get a heart, and decisions have to be made. And John Q's got a gun in his hand, and something happens. Something happens. I'm not going to spoil for you, but something happens. But as a doctor, I can feel that film. As a Black man, I can feel John Q. I can feel some of the struggles that they're talking about. Not even as a Black man, but as somebody who tries to have an appreciation for quote unquote underserved, disadvantaged. I don't like saying disadvantaged, but quote unquote underserved populations. I can say that, right? And just to see some of the struggles, right? And probably most resonated with me as a dad. As a dad, that movie gets me right here in my heart every single time. If you have not watched John Q, go watch John Q. If you haven't watched it in a long time, go watch it again. Phenomenal movies. So, Dr. Dale's top 5 medical movies. Coming at number 5, we have Nova's Doctor's Diaries. Number 4, Patch Adams. Number 3, Black Men in White Coats. Number 2, Something the Lord Made. And number 1, John Q. Hey, drop a comment. Let me know what your top 5 medical movies are of all times. Hit like, hit subscribe. I'll see you next time.